Hi, I'm Harry, and this here's my mom.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Bernhardt, and this is Bernhardt Reviews.
And today we're going to talk about Ubi Soft's latest Assassin's Creed game, Odyssey. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is set in ancient Greece around 431 BC, long before its predecessor, Assassin's Creed Origins.
This game is one of the most expensive games ever made, with a budget of between $250 and $500 million. That puts it at more than any major Hollywood motion picture blockbuster, and it shows. This game is lush, the graphics are outstanding, the cutscenes would rival most Hollywood movies.
They most certainly would.
The gameplay in this game is also outstanding. There are many new features to the game, some of which were introduced in Origins.
This is a game set in ancient Greece. This game features war between Athens and Sparta, where you as a character can choose which side you want to be on and where your loyalties lie. However, I don't recommend side with either side too much, because it can make things uneasy.
The game it's set during the Peloponnesian War. There are many historical characters that are in this game, including Socrates, Plato, famous Spartan generals, Athenian generals, and so certain people who are destined to die in a certain battle will die anyway. However, the game obviously is not completely historical because we interact with these characters and to some degree, we can impact them and the outcomes of their fates and fortunes.
We can. I'll start off by saying, when you play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you'll see immediately that the world map is enormous in size, and it's more than 200 times the area of the world map in AC1.
Some people have complained that the map is in fact too big. I didn't consider this a problem. I'm never going to object to a game having an enormous world map. This map covers most of the classical world between all of the Grecian islands, and it was amazing how many Grecian isles there are. Some people complain that it takes too long to get from one point of the world to another. However, this game, like others before it, has fast travel. We can fast travel via a ship, and we can fast travel from point to point, assuming that we've been there before.
We can. Despite the game's incredible graphics and enormous world size, I felt that the quantity seldom compromised the quality.
The quality of the game was outstanding. If I was going to have take an issue with the size of the game, it is how many temples, how many tombs, and how many forts that we go to. It's maybe, I don't think it would be an exaggeration to say 100 of each, possibly. And yet after a while they all start to look alike. It seems to me that there are maybe 3 or 4 temple models, maybe 3 or 4 fort models, and 3 or 4 tomb models. I love the tombs. I love going down into the tombs. I love the exploration. I love the feeling of the archaeology and the ancient stuff and the paintings on the walls. It was just beautiful. And this was something that I had studied quite a bit in college, and I loved these things because they were familiar to me, and I recognized how authentic much of this was, how much effort had gone into accuracy in reconstructing the way these buildings looked and reconstructing the art and architecture. But at some point we thought, couldn't they have done another variety? Do each of these tombs have to look one after another? Do they have to look so much alike? And if they're going to look so much alike, maybe we don't need to have that many of them.
Just like you said, despite this game's incredible graphics and wonderful world map, the game had many flaws. I felt that the world map was bigger than it needed to be. Some locations like the forts, tombs, and bounty camps were very repetitive to others, and it gets old and boring after you've done it enough. And many of the resources that you would pick up in this game, like the olive wood, the metal, the erythium ore, were in inaccessible locations. Because due to the enormous world map and enormous numbers of resources that would be generated, they generate them most likely randomly instead of selectively, so not everything is in an accessible place.
Yes, it was frustrating when sometimes we would be trying to get an ore, something that we need, and it would have spawned inside a rock or a cliff face that was inaccessible. I think that's just a function of the way the game would randomly generate these things. As usual, I love collecting. And so sometimes, Harry, when you would be off doing something else, I would cheerfully pick myself up and go gather rocks. I would gather the ores and the gems and the trees and have a perfectly good time doing that. And if a band of soldiers or bears or wolves would come upon me, I would hightail it out of there and go back when I had somebody who was more prepared to fight.
Like you said about fighting, there is a lot of fighting in this game. One of the features of this game are major pitched conquests that lie between Athens and Sparta. When you start playing this game, a new feature of this game is that it gives you a choice of character. You can choose to play as Alexios or as Cassandra, whichever one you feel is more fit. And regardless of whichever one you choose, the entire story mode and gameplay is pretty much the same, except for the character that you chose, and if you choose to play Alexios, you'll be saving Cassandra from the cult. If you choose Cassandra, you'll be saving Alexios.
We chose to play Cassandra because in reading about the game before we started, we saw many people advising that Cassandra's just more fun. We did find that Cassandra was a lot of fun. She has a nice voice. We had heard that the actress who does the voice of Cassandra was outstanding, and she really was. She was good. She was a pleasure to listen to. Cassandra was just a great character. I believe also that the character of Cassandra is perhaps a little bit more humorous than the character of Alexios. One of the interesting features of playing as a man or a woman is that your chances for romance remain the same. This game, if you go in and you meet a character, you will sometimes have a menu, a choice of things to do, and there might be a heart. And if there's a heart, that is offering you an amorous encounter with that person. And so some of those are going to be men and some of those are going to be women, and you're going to have those same encounters whether you're playing as Alexios or Cassandra, which means if you want to play as a gay woman, you can do that. If you want to just take all comers, you can do that. If you want to play as a gay man, you can do that.
The story is the same pretty much with how you are treated, what you interact with, as well as the sexual and romantic relationships with other people.
If you play as Cassandra, you are of course still a mighty warrior, and so some people might see this as something of a female empowerment version. Clearly it is not terribly realistic for the time, but I found it quite satisfying.
This game does feature gender equality where man and woman can work the same jobs and even fight in the military, which was very unrealistic for ancient Greece.
Did you have a problem with that?
Not at all. I thought that it would make the game appealing to whoever wanted to play it.
One of the features of the game is that there are mercenaries, and these mercenaries sometimes hunt us, especially if we've misbehaved, and if we've stolen nation treasures or something. We are going to find ourselves with a bounty on our heads and a dozen mercenaries coming after us.
We will.
3 or 4 mercenaries. And the mercenaries are tough, and probably half of those mercenaries are women, and they are just as tough as anybody else. And when sometimes we can pick up bounties and we can go chase mercenaries. The mercenaries drop pretty good loot.
They do.
The loot feature is another function of the game. We gather armor. You gather armor sets, and so you'll get the chest plate, and you'll get the leggings, and you'll get the greaves, and you get the gauntlets, and all of this, and you try to make a complete set. So you'll want to make the set of Minotaur armor. You'll make the set of Theseus armor. You'll make the set of the armor of the gods. There's all kinds of sets of armor, and you don't have to ever complete them, but if you do, you get combat bonuses associated with having the complete set of armor. Plus, they just look really awesome. And the completist in me loves making the sets of armor. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Many elements of AC Odyssey, like the voice acting, quest design, better AI, improved RPG, background music, skill level, weather and crafting systems, and upgrades with weapons and abilities may remind you of Witcher 3, a game that takes place in a medieval fantasy world.
Witcher 3 is, of course, a magnificent game, and a game that Bernhardt Reviews will no doubt discuss sometime soon. And Witcher 3 introduced a whole new way of doing the inventory and those other things that Harry just described. And so we're not necessarily saying that Assassin's Creed copied from Witcher, but if you have played Witcher, many of these features will certainly seem familiar to you.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey has also retained many elements of the old games, like the leap of faith, sailing out at sea, being in the Animus, and recruiting assassins.
A good part of this game does take place at sea. You have sea quests and land quests, and we have a ship. What was the name of our ship, Harry?
The Adrestia.
We have the Adrestia. We get the Adrestia early on, and we do a lot of sea battles, and I don't think it's possible to complete the game without doing your missions at sea. And as somebody who loved Black Flag, we played Black Flag. Black Flag is the pirates game where it's almost entirely at sea. That part of the game was fun and familiar. And, you do a lot of battles. You do a lot of ocean exploration. You dive down and you find treasure chests among sunken ships. What did you think of the sea part, Harry?
I liked it okay. Not as much as Black Flag, but I liked the part out at sea. This game contains its standard story mode, but yet it also has side quest, errand missions, collectibles, like the treasure chests, forts, tombs, bounty camps, all the locations that you wish to complete, as well as battle comp quests.
So Harry likes to proceed forward with the story. Harry wants to move from story to story, Odyssey quest, Odyssey quest. And then because I want to stop and gather all the things, I have to say, no, stop, wait. There's a tomb, here's a temple, here's a fort. Let's stop and do the things. Let's gather all the treasure chests. And, and as he points out, we can go back and do that later. I don't know how many hours we spent playing this game, Harry, but many, many hours. Do you have any idea?
Well, what I was going to say, in terms of how long it would take to complete this game, you can just focus on the story mode and you might get through it relatively quickly. However, if you were to be a completionist and do all the side quests, errand missions, collectibles, and complete the entire world map, I think you're going to be playing this game for a very, very long time.
Which certainly means you're getting your money's worth out of this game. There are people that complain that the game is too big, has too much going on. My feeling is I'm never going to object to a game giving me too much. You can complete the story. It's a big story. There's a lot to it, but a lot of it is just extras, extra forts, extra battles, extra quests, extra animals to defeat, alpha animals, extra sharks to go fight, and just what seems to be almost infinite play in that regard, because some of those quests will continue to spawn even after you've done a complete set.
And in terms of how many quests and locations there are altogether, I can't even begin to tell you the numbers, but I can say that you'll be busy for a very, very long time. When you play this game, you'll see that this game is very family-oriented. Whichever character you choose has an estranged relationship with his or her father, who's called the Wolf, and I think that the relationship with the mom and the stepbrother Stentor is a bit uneasy too. However, when it comes to the game, we can make choices of what we want to do in the story mode, which can change the outcome with our family.
Yes, this game has good endings and bad endings, and so the choices that you make will impact the storyline. And I thought that was a lot of fun. What did you think, Harry?
Well, the story can't be all gumdrops and butterflies. Sometimes you're faced with an ethical dilemma.
Now, Harry, when you say that it's family-oriented, you mean that the game is about family, right?
It is.
But you're not suggesting that the game is PG rated.
No, this game is rated M. I would not for 1 second recommend this game to anybody under about 13 years old.
For one thing, there's pretty graphic sex if you choose to click those hearts. Those hearts can be fun. We clicked them a few times, then we thought, yeah, we're not that interested in that. Maybe it's because he's playing with his mother.
Our biggest objection of this game is that we're defeating cultists, and we want to get to the Ghost of Cosmos, and the only way to get to the Ghost of Cosmos is through Cassandra or Alexios, which makes the story mode very difficult to choose how you want to play it. But the Ghost of Cosmos must be defeated.
So Harry, if you were going to give this game a rating from 1 to 10, what would you give it?
Aw man, this game's amazing. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
I also think this game is amazing, and because it features the ancient world, it is near and dear to my heart. It is difficult for me to imagine how a game would be better, so I'm going to give it a 10.
High praise.
Absolutely. A stunning game.
In that case, thank you for watching the video, and please subscribe and leave a comment down below. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.